We are bringing you a special bonus edition of Ctrl+Z this week. Because of our fiasco with last week's episode, we decided to put out a second episode this week. And, of course, we've got the usual suspects, Evan Eckerd and Rated Designs. And Josh back for his second episode.
Hello.
And for the first time, but hopefully not the last, Robert in graphics, sir.
Hello, everyone. Hi.
Robert, for those listeners of ours that don't know who you are, quickly run through what it is you do.
Well, I'm a designer. That's it, really. I do all sorts of stuff. Mainly Twitter. I'm on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Robert N Graphics. Quick shout out.
Quick plug.
That's it.
And just so you guys do know, all of our links are in the description, including the special guests. So definitely be sure to check that out. And with that being said, as well, our sponsors, Gamut Gamers, they are also going to be linked in the description. Fantastic product. You guys should definitely check them out. And we're going to get Evan some to try because he needs to be enlightened, I think. We're going to get that to him.
It's good, man. I will do that.
It's so good.
I'm working on Viagra as a sponsor. That's next.
Good Lord. Good Lord.
For those of you who haven't listened to the last episode, that makes no sense at all.
Yeah, Evan just made himself sound real bad.
Yeah, now they just think you're weird.
That's fine.
So I'm glad actually Robert brought up Twitter because I wanted to talk to you guys and see what your opinions are on social media for promotion of your work. Which sites seem to work best for you and which sites not so much, if any. Josh, you want to go first?
Whoa, hotspot. Okay. Yeah, I guess it really depends for me. I find I get mixed results depending on what the content is and depending what audience it sort of obviously appeals to. So, and also how you do it. So with Twitter, I'm finding I'm getting sort of mixed results in terms of if you post something on Instagram and then put it up on Twitter, because it doesn't automatically come up on Twitter feeds, the picture, I'm finding that it might have a little less cut through than if you put the actual image up on Twitter, if that makes sense.
Yep.
As opposed, because then it shows up in timelines and people see it, and generally, so that's one of the things I'm finding with Twitter and how to use that properly, which leads me to a lot of sort of double posting on stuff.
Yeah.
But then again, Instagram is great for little snapshots. The good thing about Instagram as well, of your screen, or you can take a photo of something, or even if you put the screenshot in and then put it on the Instagram and throw a filter on it, makes it a lot harder for people to steal the work as well, because it's low res quality and it's got a filter on it. So, which is, I know it leads into something we were speaking about last time, but yeah, and. But for my Facebook page, because my Facebook page sort of started to gather a bit of steam when I was doing conventions and when I was doing the convention scene and doing a lot of fan stuff and a lot of signings and all that sort of stuff. And that was back when I was obviously doing more non-Minecraft related stuff. So for me, the Facebook page really sort of kicks in. Like the Minecraft stuff doesn't really... get much traction on the Facebook page, whereas the other stuff that I do, like the Watch Dogs art and all that sort of stuff, does. So answer the question, or that helps at all. But
yeah, that makes sense. And the Instagram photos, like posting directly to Twitter, I agree with you there. It just doesn't work out because for some reason clicking on a link to go to another website is just uncalled for. But yeah, that just goes back to Facebook and Twitter hate each other, and Facebook owns Instagram, so
it's a whole mess.
Yeah. I think also if people click on the Instagram, they might just like it on Instagram as opposed to like responding to it on Twitter or something like that. I don't know, but it really depends, I guess. But
It's a fair point.
Yeah, mixed results on all different stuff.
Zach, I know that you and Evan, I'm not sure about Robert, but I know you and Evan also use Behance quite a bit.
I think, I guess to answer that same question for social media, there's one crowd you have to really go to. I think it's really where you establish yourself. Wherever you start out. Like, for instance, if you establish a Twitter page, or Twitter, what do you call it? Twitter page, I guess. If you establish yourself on Twitter, you make a big, following on Twitter, and then you make a YouTube or a Facebook, yeah, you're going to have some of that following come to other social networks or Behance and stuff like that, but, the most active part of you is always going to be where you started. So, for instance, and I guess Josh's standpoint, I guess you were saying Facebook is kind of like your hub and whatever, and that's really where you're going to get your activity out of, because that's where you started. That's kind of where your designs are probably most seen and most, compared to anything. But for myself, I think maybe for Evan as well, maybe not, I don't know. But my main hub is YouTube.
Yeah.
That's where I started, 100%. That's where it was. I didn't get into Twitter until like 2 years ago. It's relatively new compared to my YouTube. YouTube, I've been around 5-6 years, but yeah. So, all of my work usually gets an extreme response on YouTube. It gets a really, relatively good response on Twitter, but if I go to like other social media sites like Instagram and Facebook, I can build the following, but people just, I guess they just don't, I don't have enough of a following to really get that, good feedback or anything period from it. So I guess it's just, for me, it's more Twitter, YouTube. But Behance is a really, really good site. I know you literally, if you are a designer, and you want to go out and get your design work critiqued by other designers, that Behance is where it's at. That is literally a design social media site.
Yeah, it's somewhat like it literally is a social media website for designers.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's
really good. Really good.
That could answer any questions with where do you get your inspiration. That's where it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know where the most traction comes from. I see probably I'm less active on Facebook simply because that site annoys me to death.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
So I don't ever I used to use it pretty frequently, but there was one or two major updates ago, and it was like, this doesn't make any sense. I'm done. I'm not logging into this anymore. So I literally, I don't think I've been on anything that actually has gotten posted on Facebook. I think my wife did it for me, so I don't even think I've actually even posted anything on it. It was kind of funny, this last Twitter design, because it now it tells you the birth date, of when your Twitter was established, and I didn't realize mine's like almost 7 years old. So, but I haven't. I never really, like Zach, I didn't use it until maybe 2 years ago. So maybe less than that. I don't know. But I think between Twitter and YouTube, I think I get a little more traction off YouTube, or off Twitter actually, when it comes to like things. I don't know. It depends. Like. The only way that I could see that I have tracked it before is if I post, say, a tutorial on YouTube and I publish a PSD with it, and I track it through a link to go to Dropbox or something for someone to take that PSD, as opposed to when I post it on Twitter and just say, hey, there's this PSD document, whatever it is, have it, have fun. It kind of depends. I've seen more downloads off Twitter, and then sometimes I've seen more downloads off YouTube. So I think they're kind of they're close. I would say the Twitter the Twitter audience I would say is probably for lack of a better term more quality Like, and what I mean by quality is that there's more people are actively wanting to see what you're up to, as opposed to YouTube where it's like someone maybe the sense I get was, oh, they like the video, they'll subscribe, but they're subscribed to a bunch of other people, and how many times do they actually go to their sub feed, right? So you get, like, you can see that in views. You can see the ratio of subscribers to views, and you can see kind of a breakdown there where it doesn't really translate. Like, they're not all active, whereas active is a better word. Where on Twitter it seems like people are more active. So maybe that's why it's a little bit better traction.
That makes sense. And I know that Robert, Zach, and I, we use Twitter a lot. Maybe too much.
It's honestly, it's one of the greatest sites. I mean, there are people out there that do feel like, Twitter is like, oh, I have a shit ton of followers. I'm the biggest thing in the world. Like, and there are a lot of people like that. But I think it's just a very good place to once again talk about design. I mean, it's just where you can, get tips on, anything you're trying to do. It really just, it's a great place to be, to meet other designers, see the, get the guidance to what you're trying to do. It's just it's a good place to be in general.
It works better for what I'm finding for things like technical support. Like instead of filling out a form for some company, if I go to Twitter and reply and add them, be like, yo, this is broken, I get like a reply like, within minutes, as opposed to like maybe 48 hours later, some random email will come by saying, we've added it to our ticketing system, we'll be back. So stuff like tech support is way better using that, and I haven't seen that on any other site, so like Facebook or nothing. Tech support, and then almost I hate to say it, but like if somebody's done something bad, like I had a restaurant that we had reservations for, and they didn't seat us for like an hour, and then they ended up not seating us at all, and so I just posted on Twitter, and it was directly to them, and I got a response like, oh, we're sorry, and it's like I'm standing, their hostess won't even give me a sorry, but on Twitter they'll give me a sorry, It's like bizarre,
It's a great advertising tool as well. I mean, like if you're trying to sell things, if you're trying, I mean, not necessarily in the design, aspect, but just period. It's a great area to really advertise yourself, build a brand.
I'd say for me at least, Twitter more than any of the other social media sites really puts the networking into social networks.
Yeah.
It's really good for with common interests for us designers to do collaborations or get opinions on your work or sell your work, whatever, find clients, that sort of thing. It's really the best option for me.
I've noticed if you guys run a personal shop, like a design shop, I've noticed a lot. You get a lot more just interested folk coming through Twitter than I've seen on YouTube.
Yeah.
So that helps if you're running a little shop,
And Robert, you're not. Do you do a lot of the YouTube stuff?
I'm trying to get back into it because I used to do it a lot. Like I used to upload like 4 or 5 times a week, but it's just hard to get. I just get bored easily now. So I've had college, like tons of work piled onto me. I just haven't had the time. Now I've got summer, it's easier to get stuff done. Like what you're saying about social media, I've tried loads of different ones. I've tried Tumblr, I've tried Twitter, Facebook.
God, Tumblr.
Tumblr was really good, surprisingly.
Really?
I got a lot of good response from that, but it was just full of like weird girls on there and Doctor Who. So
a lot of hormones.
Reminds me of MySpace.
A lot of hormones running around on Tumblr.
So yeah, Twitter's definitely the best one. It's good for interacting with like fans and whatnot as well, especially with like YouTubers.
Funny enough, I bet you the Minecraft stuff would do really well on Tumblr.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the audience that it pulls in.
That's probably what I do it wrong.
Yeah.
Write that down.
To be honest, it's got,
You need to shift your whole business model.
yeah, it's gotten to the point though where it's like, I don't know if I really want to put up any more work, because it's like 2 or 3 more work inquiries, and I'm like, I can't do it. So it just means the inbox just gets fuller and fuller, and so yeah, it's tricky. But yeah, I think it really does depend on the content a lot about what you're doing as well. But it depends though. Like on the flip side as well, I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on, if you're doing work for promotion or something like that, what would you rather people be linked through to, or what would you rather be promoted on? Like for me, if someone was to say, hey, you do this and I'll put your link in the description of the video, or I'll give you a shout out on Twitter. Like I definitely Twitter would be the go-to, because it just seems to be a lot more cut through on Twitter, whereas no one will read the descriptions in YouTube and stuff like that. So
10 times out of 10, I'll take the shout out on Twitter.
Yeah. Same.
Yeah, you gotta love those comments. What software did you use on that video? What song was that? It's like, it's right there in the description. No one bothers to read any of it.
It's all in the description.
Oh man.
So along those same lines, for designers, I've been getting this question a lot lately about, is a website a must-have thing for a designer?
I see Zach shaking his head no, but I want to know why.
I don't think so at all. And the reason is because there's so many. I mean, what are you saying as a website? Like, are you saying is like you have to have a domain?
Yeah, I'm saying, well, it depends, and that's kind of part of the question too. Do you need a custom website like Evan has, or a custom
website? And the reason I don't think you need a custom website is because there are all these social media links out, or places out there, and on top of that, name off 3 off the top of my head that are portfolio sites.
Yeah.
And if people want to go see your work, and you can cross socialize, oh yeah, if you want to check out my Twitter and contact me, or go here on the portfolio. So there's DeviantArt, there's Carbon Made, Behance is a great one, and you can send people to different areas, and they'll just keep coming back to you on one of your social sites. So really, if you're running a store, that's a definite. You need to have a website for that. That is for sure. But if you're really just sending straight, if you're working on, start to finish designs, like, a logo design, layout design, stuff like that, I don't see, if you have social media and other portfolio stuff, I don't see there being a need for a site, a custom site at least.
For that, Evan?
Huh?
Do you have a rebuttal for that?
No, I think it makes sense. It's it really depends on what you do. So if you're if you need a portfolio solution, there's plenty of sites out there. I was using the Pro site as a portfolio solution, but I was plugging it into my custom site. But nowadays they have everything on it where you don't even know you're on a third-party portfolio site. I mean, you can redirect a domain to it. You can make it look totally, something else, and it handles it as a if you're doing design work, and that's your that's your main source of clientele and income. That's all you need. You just need a gallery in a sense, and then you need a contact form, and maybe a page with a little bit of information on what you do. For me, since I started out doing more web design and development, if you do web design, I feel like you need your own custom site, because that speaks that you do web design. So if you don't, then I don't really see a really in one direction or another a really big need for it. But that's one thing that kind of irks me, is when I'll look at portfolios of web designers and developers, and I see that they're using a theme, that they downloaded somewhere, and that even though I know there's a lot of work required behind them,
doesn't really
it's still
competence.
Like, well, that doesn't really tell me you can do it, So
my site is just the theme. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, but you're not going around saying you do front end web development, right? So
right, that's not
so there's
right. Yeah,
not-
I mean,
yeah, so
eventually I'd like to learn. I mean, like that's something, you know. I mean, the layout probably isn't too, I guess, complicated. I guess it's more of the coding that probably I heard is extremely frustrating and extremely hard to go through. I mean, of course, the layout is definitely, it's definitely a very important thing because you got to brand your site. It's got to look the right way and stuff like that. But you know, if you're already a designer that kind of does layout design and, you know, kind of already is through that, it probably shouldn't be too much of like a hassle to like relearn stuff. But the coding is the only thing I'm really bad at. I've never learned coding. I don't really know, you know, I know there aren't like certain fonts that you can't use and can use to code and stuff like that.
There's workarounds for that, but yeah.
Right, and that's kind of where, you know, I'm left at is I do everything but that in illustration, I guess. But you know, I really do want to learn how to do it though.
We already know that I'm somewhat quirky in my methods. You know, I don't listen to music while I design, etc., etc. Maybe I'm the only person that thinks this, but I find coding and programming somewhat therapeutic sometimes because it's kind of just you and your thoughts, and you're just kind of, a lot of times you're doing trial and error sort of things. And
Don't you love Flash too?
I really enjoy it. I do like Flash.
What?
you are quirky. You're out there, bud.
Quirky's a nice way to put it.
I can't stand Flash, dude. I took my only course I needed of Flash, and I was like, okay, I'm never doing this again.
And I think maybe that me is everybody else hates to do it, so why not do it myself?
You've seen my
mean,
Twitter
it's
posts on jQuery, right? When I'm like ready to spontaneously combust from JavaScript not doing what it's supposed to, or it looks like it's supposed to do it and it doesn't.
Now I will say I do get frustrated at times with it, but you know that just kind of comes with the territory a little bit. Whenever you kind of get stuck on one thing that you can't figure out, that it's still
I think
frustrating.
it's like with frustration though, because like, and we all get frustrated with programs and frustrated with, I can't get this line to look right for, I guess, the illustrators and stuff like that. And I have to draw, like, I can't get this one line to look eye-appealing to myself. But, you know, I think it's like with Flash, the rage level that I have. So like,
you're like this close to turning into a big green
bad.
monster and just wrecking havoc.
Right. It's like just when I hear the word Flash, it's just automatic bad thoughts right away.
Yeah.
That's my same. I have the same disdain for Illustrator. I was just telling Evan about this earlier.
Illustrator was really tough to learn.
It doesn't require you to code nonsense.
It was very confusing to learn because I learned everything in Photoshop. So everything that was Illustrator based, I learned it in Photoshop. So my mind would think Photoshop when I was in Illustrator, and I ended up screwing everything up for like literally 6 months.
Same here, yeah.
Robert,
And then finally something clicked, and I was like, okay, I can't do. And it was so much like Illustrator just, you know, it's so much more like logical to do certain things in Illustrator now.
Robert was talking about in a group chat that we're in together, and he was talking about how he's just starting to use Illustrator and have to drink heavily before I use it.
I started drawing in Illustrator actually, way back. And the reason was because in Photoshop, when you draw, it doesn't do anything. Like what you draw is what you get, I guess. But in Illustrator, I figured out like one of the brushes, when you draw it, it sort of smooths it out. And so what it meant for me is you can be crap and makes you look decent. And so I started doing that, and it also meant like if I drew a line, I'm like, oh, that's not quite right. I could just quickly move this to a anchor point. And it got to the point where, like, because people started using Illustrator and stuff like that to draw, and they were like, oh, so what about this tool and this tool? And it's like, I literally have no idea. I click on the brush and the eraser, and that is it. Like, the rest of the program, I have no idea.
Maybe that's why it doesn't like click with me, because I want to use the whole program, but maybe I'm just over how to use Illustrator.
Well, it's like literally it's Photoshop. It's simplistic. I always with Illustrator I would overthink, because with Photoshop you're always jumbling layers on the side. One thing needs to be, a certain way, and then you have to fade things. Illustrator is very simplistic with all that.
The two things that really annoy me about Illustrator, one of them is the eyedropper tool. Like, I just want blue. I just want that blue there. And it changes the stroke, and I'm just like, I just want the damn color. But secondly, it's just like gradients and transparency. There's got to be an easier way.
I completely agree with that. Instead of having to click on the side and then like pull out the gradient. So,
and then you've got the gradient tool and it's black and white, and I've got to change it to. And it's just. Yeah.
Maybe in Illustrator 7.
I did that whole tiger illustration I did the other day. I did that all pen tool and Photoshop.
And I know a lot of guys that actually prefer that in Photoshop. Rob being one of them.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I'm Illustrator now. I prefer it.
Yeah.
So much. Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of guys that prefer they can take the, because with the pen tool in Photoshop, you can make it to where it's a layer, like a mask or whatever it is or something, or it's a kind of like
a vector shape.
Yeah, it's like a vector shape type thing. Get the same effect, except it's not vector, it's raster.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know a lot of people that will say Photoshop's the way to go, but...
Yeah, I did a logo the other day, and it was so much quicker. I did it in Photoshop, but I just kept everything vector. You can still keep it. You can still use vector objects inside of Photoshop. And I just make sure to raster, and so I can it still retains, its quality. I did it at like A1 300 DPI anyway, so there's probably no point. It's going to be bigger, but I just like what I wanted to do in Photoshop, I could do in an hour. If I did an Illustrator, I'd probably still be here like 3 weeks later trying to figure it out. And it was really simple stuff as well.
So what do you kind of pull it back a little bit? What do you think about the relevancy of a custom website, Josh?
It really depends on what you're doing. Like in the end, it depends what your goal is. If you're doing a lot of stuff for people on YouTube, and you're already established, or you're doing YouTube banners and stuff like that, look, you can probably just send, like, in the end, a client, all they want to see is your work. And that's really all they care about. They really don't care about too much else in the end. Personality probably comes into it a little bit, but I mean, always sort of whatever. And in the end, all they want to see is that you can do the work and that you've done it before. So if you send them a link to a portfolio on a Behance, or on a couple of YouTube channels, or a couple of Twitter pages, or even just pictures from anywhere, it's going to do the job. It just depends on how you want to present it. And sites like Behance and stuff like that are great because they actually present a portfolio in a really nice and appealing way. The one thing I would probably be a little bit weary about sort of community sites like that is having people's like the community's comments and stuff like that can sometimes get a little bit. Behance, I don't think there's that issue, but just be very careful about sending them to certain areas where maybe sort of the comments or stuff like that might be a little bit silly and stupid. But in the end, for me, the website's great because I can pick and choose what to put on there when I get around to updating. Because that's the other thing. Like if you're sending them to your like DeviantArt or to your Behance stuff like that, make sure that you want them to be seeing all this work. I don't have you sort of photoshopped in like a Gooby Goober outfit or something like that with Patrick and SpongeBob, like unless that's what you're selling. But in the end, I think it's just about presentation, how you want to present it, and some ways are easier than others, and I don't think it's a necessity, but definitely there is a more professional aspect at sending them to a website or one of these Behance pro site things. As opposed to maybe a DeviantArt or something like that.
Well, the DeviantArt stuff, that I wouldn't. Yeah, those it's too easy for them to get away from your work. Like they can go to somebody else's work. So anything that has
also, it's very easy to steal stolen work on people's portfolios. That they don't really enforce
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, from work.
That's the one thing that has me a little wary about Behance. I just started using it, and I'm kind of wondering how it prevents people from stealing your stuff, because it will allow you to upload it in high res. It doesn't compress like Twitter and Facebook do. If they try to steal it, it'd be crap
It
quality.
depends on the file also, because it'll compress your file if it's like, for instance, I have a method in Photoshop to get like an extremely high quality, like higher quality than it should be, and it'll compress the crap out of that. It's like, I don't know, it's pain, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Before we get off trail, again, I want to get Robert's opinion on the website thing.
I'm kind of on the same lines as Josh, really. It just depends, like, what you're selling. Like, with me, I usually just link a YouTube channel, because I usually because a lot of them still got on that. Some of them are just like, so I've linked a YouTube channel, then I'll look at it and they haven't got the banner up. So I'm just linking some random person's thing. So that's a problem.
That is an issue, yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't even got like a proper portfolio sorted out, so that's one thing I need to do. But usually I just send them a link and like some screenshots. But it's just personal preference more than anything.
So my reason for having a website or saying that you need a website is because a couple reasons, actually. You don't know how long these social media sites are going to last. You know, MySpace was gigantic, and I mean, look at it now. So you never know how long those kind of things are going to last, whereas a website, you control how long that lasts because it's all under your control. And also, it kind of, for me, was a central hub to find all of my stuff. So if you want to look at my work, it's there. If you want to look at my videos, it's there. If you want to look at my downloads that I create, like the thumbnail templates and stuff that I do, it's there. If you want to contact me, it's there. If you want to order my services, it's all there. It's a central hub for all of my clients, followers, fans to go and interact with me or just look at the stuff that I've done. That's my main advocacy for a website.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about the website is make sure you keep it updated.
Yeah.
That's my problem at the moment, is that all my work on my website is out of date, and whilst, you know, a lot of people are impressed with it, some of the stuff I'm like, well, you know, because your work is always going to progressively get better.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I even struggle sometimes to send people to the website. Like, I'm like, ugh. So sometimes Instagram and stuff like that can help, but I mean, that is definitely client-based. So like, depending on the client, if it's a Minecraft server or something like that, then sure, you know, I can send them to that. But if I'm doing work, more sort of corporate style work, I'm not really going to send them to a YouTube channel or to an Instagram link or something like that. You know, then it's going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that really hard to keep my site updated, just because, I mean, I pump out a lot of stuff, and it's just like, it's like one of those things where I just completely forget. It's just like my YouTube. I forget to upload all the time. I mean, like, I was supposed to upload a week ago, and I just completely forgot. It's just, I don't know, I think every person needs to set aside at least a certain amount of time to update your site.
Yeah. It's definitely not instant gratification like a social media site is, where you can just upload an image from your computer and bam, it's there. You know, there's a little more work involved depending on how you...
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is a pain. So I'll give you guys that.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know, we opened the official Ctrl+Z Twitter. It's at Ctrl+Z Show. And if you guys want to check that out, please do. We're going to be having a lot of interaction. Evan, Zach, and I will be posting on it as regularly as possible. And one thing that we are starting to do is take questions for us to answer on the show. And we got a lot of questions, a couple good ones. And so I just want to get those involved real quick.
Hell yeah, dude.
So we got a question from @Carebox on Twitter, and he said, what is the best way to get started or to learn things about, essentially, what tools did you use to start learning?
That is one hell of a question.
Start learning what?
Is it like, is it learning like just basic?
He said graphics.
Okay.
All right.
Well, I learned how to drive by, getting in a car and doing it.
And I got an accident, and it just taught me how.
Let's be honest. You're so old. You're like driving 20 miles an hour everywhere, just ticking people off.
Man, no. For me, it was how I learned. Honestly, I was self-taught, and
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
I used any source possible to learn. I mean, YouTube, tutorials on Photoshop, Adobe.com, and how to do certain little, square stuff, really, things you don't use.
Do you guys prefer video tutorials as opposed to text?
Oh yeah, video tutorials are so much more. It's like almost like being kind of one-on-one with a person. Yeah. It's a lot more intimate, and it's a lot easier.
Again, I might be.
Really, it's tutorials. I learned.
I might be on the island again here, but I like text tutorials better because I don't have to pause the video.
That's true, yeah.
As long as it's got screenshots. The worst ones though are like when they go through it and it's like one screenshot and then it's like 10 steps later they finally post another one and it's like this is
it's like a long it's like a long
sitting there like I could have just it's like
it's like a page long thing with
the only thing I don't like about the text ones is some of them are too descriptive to them. They really confuse the crap out of you sometimes, and they're like, they make you go through a longer process than what you really need to go through.
Yeah.
And that's really the only thing I don't really like about them. But sometimes I actually will oh my God, this was years ago. I used to look at certain things and I'd try to mock a certain thing. Of course I wouldn't sell it, but I'd try to, get effects out of the same thing, but instead of learning a tutorial or reading how to do it, I would just try to do it with the tools I already had.
Yeah.
I have somewhat of a hunch that comes from your background in music, where you try to imitate music.
Well, I learned all by ear, so I have no idea how to read music. I mean, you throw a bunch of those treble notes in front of me. I have no idea what's what. If I hear it, I can play it. But yeah, see it, I can. But I think that goes back to drawing too. If you guys see something, you can probably draw it. I don't know.
That's close to how I learned how to code. Like I was looking at other people's code and downloading pages and just switching it out and seeing what it did, and then I learned how to do it. And same way. It's like I didn't know what the tags really meant, a few of them, but I knew if I put them there, they did this. And then it wasn't until later on I realized, oh, that whole time that's what that tag meant. That's what that's what that letter stood for or something. And that as far as drawing and design, I don't know. I just started doing it, and it's more. It was more learning because it was just fun, and you figure it out because it's fun to figure out. I don't know. Of course, when you want to do something very specific. I would look up a tutorial or something, or maybe somebody had already found a shortcut for it for something real specific. But just overall, learning how to just design and stuff. The other materials that would come in was I had a couple real good teachers, art teachers, growing up that would introduce me to other artists and show me other styles that I'd never seen and stuff like that. And then just learning how to use a whole bunch of different mediums. So it helps to break away from nowadays, break away from Photoshop and thumbnail sketch something or switch it up and try, go out and try to do photography and play with composition of photos and, just try a bunch of other things. So it all feeds into each other. So you kind of, I don't know, you learn by going out and doing it.
Well, with illustration, you do have that element of, you've got natural talent for it, and then also practicing, and you don't really need to have technical program like software skills to be able to do an illustration. You literally a pencil and a paper is all you really need to do illustration.
I mean, there are certain tools like
well, there
certain
are
like certain, well, the way you draw. Like, I don't know. I took a few drawing classes over the past 2 years for my major, and there's different ways to draw certain lines, and there's a certain style to how each. If you want to go into the cartooning type stuff, there's certain ways and certain styles within the cartooning. So, I mean, there's a huge amount of stuff you have to learn. For the most part, yeah, you're kind of right. It's natural.
Well, there's a lot of tricks you can learn, right? Like one of my art teachers is the ones that showed me how to do, how to draw vanishing points to figure out perspective and things like that. How to draw, different views and, bird's eye view and I think what they call it, worm view or something, and vanishing points and how to work with those, and then there's a lot of different like little techniques that when I was growing up I would draw all sorts of stuff and what's up, Squirt? But it wasn't until an art teacher had me look at lighting and shading and realize that there's reflective light, and realize that the way the light hits it, there's fall-off shadows as opposed to just the regular shadows that are on the dark side of the object or something, and it's like, oh yeah, that stuff is there, and then you learn how to do it, So I don't know, it's a combination, I guess.
That's true. I mean, learning shading and perspectives and planes and that kind of thing, that is something that you could use help with. Maybe something you can't just pick up on your own necessarily.
I mean, somebody can teach you how to draw, not what to draw, I guess is the best way to say it. And that's all comes out of your head.
Yeah, the creativity to use the tools is pretty key.
But as far as software manuals, you don't need any of those.
Yeah, I
throw mine all out.
Do you guys remember that? The manuals that would come with some of those packages, they would weigh 20 pounds.
Around here somewhere.
Actually, I have a Photoshop CS2 box still, and it was this big, and it was that tall, and it comes with this thick book, and I was like, what do I need this for?
Yeah, it's this much is the DVD case, and the rest of it is all paper. So I don't know. How about you, Josh? How did you learn? What was the best method?
Yeah, I mean, I'll try and keep this short because I've gone on a rant about this so many times, especially in stream. But it all comes down to one thing that a very, very smart man once said, and a lot of you guys will know who he is. Steven Silver. Actually, a lot of you guys might not know who he is, but he's a character designer, animator. Does a lot of work with Kim Possible and stuff like that. And I read something, I think it was on his Facebook once, and he said there's two people, and this is referring specifically at the moment, but there's two people in this world. There's the ones who are naturally gifted with drawing, who can pick up a pen and just draw and are amazing, and we all know those kind of people. And then there's the second kind of people who actually just work their ass off at it and actually got good. And I fall into that second category where when I started drawing, I couldn't draw. I've shown people some of my stuff. It is terrible. But it just, the number one thing that I try and tell people is to just try and forget about the tools, and try and forget about the resources and materials and all this sort of stuff. When I first started drawing, I got caught up in it as well, because I'm like, I like this art, let's try and find out everything. And got to the point when I first started, I was cartooning with a brush and ink, and I would actually go to the level, I'm like, what brush does this artist use, because I need to be using that brush. Yeah. The fact is, it does not matter what, and I'm talking back then, this is a paintbrush as well, not a Photoshop brush, but all of that is irrelevant. And in the end, what it comes down to is I read, and as you could probably see behind me, there's half of them. I read a lot of comic books, and I watched a lot of cartoons and stuff like that, and that's what influenced me. So I found these guys that were huge influences and really defined how I draw now. Guys like Jamie Smart and Roman Dirge and Johann Vasquez, who I can't say his last name, but all these guys influenced what I did because I was reading that and I was mimicking that. And I think it was actually J.K. Rowling who once was questioned about all these people who were imitating her work and writing and stuff like that. And I don't remember the exact quote, but she said, that's actually a good thing. What you need to do is you need to read these people and imitate their writing, and the codes for drawing, imitate their drawing, imitate their art. You will find, I'm not talking traces over it, but find the parts. You'll find that your style will begin to develop from there. And if these are the guys that you look up to and these guys that you follow and stuff like that, then that's perfectly fine. You can start to work with that, and then what will happen is your flair and all this sort of stuff will come into it. Like I used to draw really simple cartoons, and then as it progressed, it ended up being sort of simple anatomy shaped cartoons, but with a lot of detail on them and stuff like that. And that's sort of where my sort of stuff came in. So it's part of forgetting about having the exact same, I don't have a Cintiq, so I can't do what he does.
Right.
I get this comment a lot. It's like, that guy's got to sit. He's like, if I had a computer set up that good, then I'd be that good. No. That's not. It's not how it works. It's irrelevant. I can do exactly what I do now on a little Bamboo or an Intuos or something like that. It just means that the Cintiq makes it faster. So forget about the tools and forget about all the stuff. And if you don't even have a tablet, then it doesn't matter. I'm sure you've got a pen somewhere in your house, and I'm sure you've got a piece of paper, and that's all you need to get started. And then the other piece of advice I was once given was about to actually make it. This market is so competitive. There's so many really, really good artists, and there's so many people that are really, really good at all this sort of stuff. And so to stand out and stuff like that, it all comes down to personal drive. And there can be some really talented people that might only draw like once a week or something like that. But in the end, if you're the guy that when your friends go out to the movies and you say no, and you stay at home and you're the one drawing, or you're the one that's working your ass off and doing all this thing, and over your 2-year course, if you do a course or whatever, you're the one putting in the extra work and all this sort of stuff, that is going to pay off in the end. And you put in, and there's no sort of magic equation or anything like that. It's just, X equals Y. If you put in 16 hours worth of work, you will improve that much sort of thing, as opposed to someone who puts in 2 hours worth of work is only going to improve by that much. So in the end, it just comes down to stop worrying about everything else and just draw. And if you're not enjoying it, or you're forcing yourself to do it, then just stop. Just don't do it then, because there's so many other things to do. But I guess it's I guess that's what it comes down to for me is and don't worry too much about I do read a lot of tutorials, not read tutorials, but you look at some stuff like how to draw hands and stuff like that, and that's all great and stuff like that. But people asking what course I went to, I did a course in web design, web development, and 3D animation. Back when I dropped out of that because I got pulled into a full-time job. But my course, my work, and all that sort of stuff never related anything to do with art. I just wanted to draw. So that's really what it comes down to is read comics, watch cartoons. That's where it all started for me, and especially Tim Burton and a lot of the work that he did, and that really sort of the work that I used to do was, and I don't show a lot of it, but it was really dark, sort of Tim Burton style, sort of and that sort of bleeds into what you do. It doesn't really matter what you're drawing, just as long as you're drawing.
What do you think, Robert?
Oh god, I remember when I started doing graphics. God, I used to do montages and all that stuff, trick shotting and
video effects.
Yeah, or just going on card, getting a trick shot, do a 360 no scope, that sort of stuff. And I remember just wanting to do YouTube, and I would ask people YouTube ad for free, and they'd be like, no, go away. So I thought, what about if I make my own? So I downloaded, I think it was GIMP. I downloaded. And I went into that, made something, wasn't the best, but then I keep practicing, and I moved up to Photoshop, and that's what I got from now. So really, if you want to start getting into graphics, it's literally just get the software and just do whatever you want in there, and just practice. Because the old saying is practice makes perfect, yeah.
And it goes back to something we were talking about on the last episode, is there's not really shortcuts, right? You know, you've got to put in the work, you've got to practice, you got to hone your skills and get familiar with your tools and what you're comfortable with, and eventually, you know, you're going to improve if you're putting in the work and you have a passion for it. Then you're working, and people are going to start to take notice.
I agree.
Yep. Absolutely.
One question should just be a real quick question. It's from
Nothing's quick
at
on
Say
it.
Yes, at Say Yes to Bacon, and he just
That's a great name.
yeah, right. Who wouldn't? But he's just asking how long we've all been designing.
Well, we all know Evan's been designing since the Jurassic Park ages. So.
You mean the Jurassic era?
His first portfolio was wiped out by the meteor.
He used to do cave drawings when the world was still Pangea.
Some are still around.
I'll never find them all.
I've been designing for just about 7 years.
7 years. I
It's
think
about 4 or 5 for me. 4 or 5 years at least.
I'm coming up on 12.
Evan's like, yeah, about 7 million. He's like clocking on his
See,
phone. real
I
quick.
don't really know how to answer this question, to be honest.
Cannot
'cause
compute.
It's like is it design and like get paid for it? Is that the question?
I think it's just like how long you've been doing graphic design.
Jeez, it's
Since 1200 BC.
it's around 18 years, I think. But it's still I don't know. It's one of those questions where like my earliest memories are getting up and trying to redraw like G.I. Joe off the TV when I was 3. So I don't know what, you know.
I think we all like did like doodling and stuff like that whenever we were kids. I think it's more like we got into it and decided this is something we want to do as a career.
Maybe that's why it's hard for me to answer, because it's always been that way. I've never. I was just always doing it. I don't know. It'd be weird not to do it, to be honest.
What about you, Josh?
Yeah, see, I don't know, I'm sort of the same boat. In terms of, like, drawing, it hasn't really been that long. I was actually just looking around to see if I remember the first poster that I ever took to a convention and set up, like, a little artist alley table. And I've got it floating around somewhere. I think it's up there. But, so in terms of conventions, I think, like, one of the first conventions I ever attended was in probably 2008. So what are we in now? 14. So what? Maybe 6 years ago. So that was, I guess, and maybe I'd been drawing maybe a year before that. But even before I started drawing, I was a web designer at an agency, and I was a programmer at an agency. And then before that in school, I was on the, magazine committee, which really was just a class to get out of doing anything else. But I was always sort of tinkering on computers and doing all that sort of stuff. So I guess like the programming side of things as well, and then the 3D animation stuff as well. Like if you couple all of that into it, I mean, it doesn't really class as design, I guess, but it comes back to, it's like when people say, I've been drawing since I was 3 or stuff like that. It's like, yeah, well, we all have. We all were drawing since we were 3, so, but I probably started drawing in my early 20s, like actually illustrating, And even at that point there, like my wife said, oh, imagine if you did this for a job one day. I'm like, no, I mean, artists don't become popular or famous until they're dead usually, and then they sell their work for thousands. But I never thought of it. I never really thought of it as a career. I just did it because I wanted to do it. And I was always worried of doing it for a career anyway, because I was worried that then you take something that you love and you do it every single day and then suddenly you hate it. So, which is why I no longer work at the pizza shop. But yeah, it's kind of weird. So I guess, yeah, I don't know, around about maybe illustrating for 6 or 7 years, but before, like I've been designing and all that other stuff for many, many years before that.
All right. So I wanted to ask you guys what you think about doing work for shout-outs or promotions or anything really other than money.
What is now? Here's my I'm going to ask a question to that question, because I always get asked that, and I mean, I have two sides to it. So, like, I mean, it's understandable and it's not understandable. Is a follower gonna pay the bills? You know what I mean? Like, is a subscriber gonna pay the bills? Like, there's one aspect of it, like, you know, that it's like, just, you know, if you love it, you'll do it. You know, it's a physical thing, and that, yeah, I mean, there has been times where I've worked for, like, you know, promotion and stuff like that. But now that I look back on it, I kind of just, I regret it.
Let me pose a question to that question of my question. So if you look at it like that, okay, let's say you do work for somebody, right? They promote you on Twitter and you get 10 followers, right? You get 10 followers off of it, and one of those followers is a paying client. Does that make it worth?
Then it's worth it.
I've had that with KYR Speedy.
Yeah.
I did for, and I got a lot of clients through that. Like,
yeah, that's kind of the way you have to look at it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, and you know,
It benefits you in both ways.
It does, but I don't know. Maybe it's just from my experiences of it. A lot of it, I just feel like I work so hard on something, and you know, I'll get customers out of it, but it's like, was it really worth it? You know what I mean? Because you get a lot of customers for a little bit, and then it just goes all out, and you're just kind of like, okay, well, that was like really big, like nice feel to it, and then it's just kind of like they're gone. So personally, I don't really. It really just depends on what it is. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say I could go pro and con on both. I've got arguments for both. I mean, it's hard for me to come down on it because I did it. I think we probably all did it at one stage.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because that's sort of how I guess I lean and stuff like that. But in the end, it comes down to two things for me. Number one, if you're doing your work for free, you're undervaluing your time. And as soon as you start undervaluing your time and you're undervaluing your work, then you know that your work, your time, and what you do, and your work, and this talent that you have is worth something. And it just depends on how you want to. When I was working a full-time job and I didn't need a supplemental income, then sure, there might have been chances and times that I would have done that. And if that was still my situation, then there probably would be sort of, you know, I'd probably be more open to something like that. Obviously now, with it being a full-time job, it's just a no. But the second thing is, there's a lot of these, you know, bigger guys that have this following that is worthwhile doing these shout-outs for and etc. I'm finding that 90% of them are, you know, very, very willing to pay. You know, they actually want to pay for your time because they value your time. They will still put a shout out or something like that. You know, you'll do the work and then they'll say, hey, thanks for doing this, blah, 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 blah. Or they'll upload the video to their channel or something like that. You know, I do a lot of work with guys like Corrales and stuff like that, and Think Noodles and all those guys, and that's how they roll as well. Like, they've always said, yes, we'll pay you for your work, and hey, can you send me the video so I can upload it to my channel and send it through to you and stuff like that. So a lot of these guys, are usually actually willing to, they actually value your time as well. And I've had 2 people who I'm not going to name, but who have just basically, where it fell down was, I remember I did a thumbnail for a guy, and he said, I need it rushed, and I'm going to put this series up tomorrow. Can you do it straight away? I was like, oh, okay. So I dropped everything, did it. Next day, didn't see the video. I said, well, how do you think? Yeah, I didn't decide to run with that. I didn't do that video anyway. I've got another video that I'm going to put up. And this went on for about 4 thumbnails. Every day I spent like 2 or 3 hours doing a thumbnail. And the video never went up. And then I just got rid of him basically. And then he wondered why, 6 months later when he needed something desperately and I wasn't even going to talk to him. Like, nothing, absolutely nothing. Didn't even use the work, didn't value the work, didn't do anything like that. There was no sort of tweets or anything like that. So just be very careful, I guess, who you do it with. And what I find is that generally the people who are sort of worth your time are willing to pay for it.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that.
What do you think, Evan?
Well, I've never asked for that in return for like artwork. It's I did, like, in high school I was offered promotion in return for artwork, but to be honest, on the ever since I started a YouTube channel, when I've said yes to somebody to do artwork for them, it's just because I wasn't expecting either compensation was already discussed up front and it was in a dollar form, or it was, this just sounds like fun, I'll do it, and just did it because it was fun, and I didn't have to do the normal, like, negotiation and revise stuff and send back and forth things. It was like, yeah, here's one shot of my time, there you go, and it was something, it was just a way for me to do something different from what I was doing. So the shout out things, though, if you do decide to do them, you kind of have to, it's a tricky one to quantify as far as what's gonna, if it's really gonna benefit you or not, because you may get clients from a shout out, but it really depends on who is doing it and what their demographic already looks like. So, or you're gonna get bombarded with emails asking for $5 projects. It's like, sorry, I don't even. No, it doesn't work. So but some of these bigger channels and stuff, they if you think of it as a company that goes out and looks to spend advertising dollars on a channel or something to market, they're paying a lot of money for some of these channels. So if you think of it as buying, as you're doing artwork to essentially buy airtime, type thing, then if the balance makes sense, then it's probably worthwhile.
Yeah. Yeah, there are definitely some times where you agree to do work for promotion and it doesn't work out as well as you would have hoped.
And that's kind of why I'm so against it, is because I've done it so many times and it's never been worth my while. I mean, yeah.
There's a point where your followers cross over so much that you don't get the kind of reaction that you want.
Right. And, I mean, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't say, don't do it. It's like Evan said, if it seems right and, if it makes sense, do it. But, I don't know, I've just had bad experiences with it. I've done a lot of things for a lot of, I guess, quote-unquote big YouTubers, and they just, maybe it's just the community I did it for.
Yeah, that,
because the Minecraft community, they're most of them, the guys I've met, they're so, a lot of them are very nice guys. They're very, you know, they understand, you know, it takes a while to work. I mean, shit, they play Minecraft. I mean, they probably, I mean, but, no, you know, they're nice guys. Most of those guys are older as well, you know, with a lot of stuff I've done is more for the Call of Duty community and then the Battlefield guys. And it's just, a lot of them are just kind of like,
well, you got to think of the audience, right? It's
right. The audience is very young.
Well, it's not only they're very
in comparison, they don't value it.
Well, they might value it, but you know, there may not be a budget behind what they do.
Right.
Because there's very few people that make money off YouTube doing content like that, right? So that it's not.
Exactly.
It doesn't really like, yeah, you might get a lot of promotion, a lot of good feedback, and a lot of people that are wanting something, but there's not a lot of follow through on how many can actually you know,
yeah,
pay for
definitely.
it.
I think definitely measure your time as well.
Yeah.
And also put yourself in the worst case scenario. So say before you agree to something, just say, okay, worst case scenario, if I get no followers from doing this, is it still worthwhile, you know, to get my stuff out? Is it something that I can take? Like, don't sort of push aside paid work potentially to do it or whatever. I mean, it really depends on your situation.
Yeah. Don't.
But I mean, don't. But then again, like I say, don't undervalue the power of a like on a video on YouTube. If you're trying to grow your YouTube channel,
that I've seen that. I mean, a like on a video I've seen from really big YouTubers just blow a video up. I mean,
that's right. Yeah, and there's a lot of people, and there's I'll be very careful about how I phrase what I'm going to say. But there's a lot of people who do this, who sort of talent-wise, there's a lot more talented people, even than me, that have a lot less viewing and a lot less subs because they didn't have those connections.
Oh, I agree.
Those connections can put a guy who has not as much talent as someone else, you know, 200, 300, 400, 500,000 subs, and you look at the work and you're like, wow, you know, and then you look at this guy over here who is producing like amazing stuff, and he's sitting there with like 3,000 subs, you know.
Yeah.
So definitely don't undervalue it. It depends what you want to do. Like there's a point, and this is where I'm at now, where I'm like, okay, well, it's probably a good time to look to sort of grow that YouTube channel so it can become something which is self-sustaining, if that is even possible. And it's hard within the art community, because remember, you're not going to have these 10 million subs on an art channel. You know, you're not playing Minecraft. So, I mean, you know, there's a lot of, you know, you're not playing games. It's not as interesting, unfortunately. So I think just keeping it in perspective as well. And there might one day be an artist who does have that many subs. But I'm saying, like, there is certainly, we'll go watch these gaming channels and watch these people play because it's entertaining, stuff like that. But only a certain segment of that are going to enjoy and appreciate the artwork side of things.
Right.
But yeah, definitely don't undervalue a like or something like that. But I would say maybe, like, you know, I've got some clients that I do some work for that, you know, which isn't illustrated, but it's like some little thumbnail work that might be in Cinema 4D or something like that, where every time I do a couple of thumbnails, you know, they might like one of my videos, so like that. And that actually does, in the end, sort of correlate to an increase in sort of growth and views and all that sort of stuff. But it really does depend on, like, if YouTube's not a big thing for you and you don't upload regularly, then don't go for promotion on YouTube. You know, it doesn't make sense, you know, so.
Yeah, I agree. I just, I don't know, it's just I'm very iffy on the whole subject, but like you guys say, I have done it if it's in the right aspect and it's, you know, it makes sense, do it.
What do you think, Robert?
All of you are on the same sort of boat as me, really. Yeah. I got there really not much to say on that.
I think it's important to also mention that you should outline the terms before you do the work, just as if it was paid work as well.
For sure.
So if you want that Twitter shout out, I even suggest writing the tweet that they're going to send out eventually. Some guys you can trust to do a nice sincere tweet about your work, but some guys I wouldn't exactly go there with that.
So I'm actually kind of those Evans. I really never asked for any of that type of stuff. Kind of just happens, like, you know, from some of the people.
What do you think about work for promotion as opposed to giveaway type stuff?
That's
What do you mean?
Well, when you say that work for promotion would be more lucrative endeavor than giveaways.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because I mean, you know what? I don't even know. That's a good question. That's actually a really good question, because when you do a giveaway, you do gain on actually an awful lot. But see, the thing is that a lot of people don't. You know, for instance, people that do Twitter giveaways, YouTube giveaways, you can do it on any social site, to be honest. You know, it's a pack for, reach a goal, and then, you get it or whatever. I've done a few of them. And, it really depends. I mean, now that I think about it, dude, that's a really good question. I don't really know, because with a giveaway, I mean, you gain an awful lot of people that want to come get whatever the hell you're giving away. Mm. But the minute that giveaway's over and the person wins, or hypothetically the people win, or hypothetically it's given away, that unfollow button's clicked and you're gone. And you lose that fan base. And I get it. I mean, it's, if you gotta follow somebody for 5 days to get something you wanted, you're gonna do it. But that's the same thing with YouTube. It's those buttons are so easy to click, man. The subscribe and an unsubscribe button. I mean, that's if somebody clocked in how fast somebody can do that, it's fast. And so, I mean, promotion, I'd probably have to say has the up on that one, definitely. Because if you actually do get the promotion, people are probably gonna be a lot more loyal than people that are just clicking follow just for one thing. If they don't get it, they unfollow.
Yeah, I guess there's three kinds of people here. So you've got people that will come to you, will find you, know who you are, like what you do, and follow you. They're the people that when you tweet something, they're going to say, "Hey, nice job." They're going to hit favorite. They're going to retweet. They're going to say, "Hey, I like that." They're going to do all this sort of stuff. Then there's the people that are told to follow you. So these are the people that usually come from promotion and stuff like that, and that will fall into two categories, because people will say, hey, this guy's a good artist, go follow him, or whatever the promotion may be, and you're going to get a little from each crowd. It's mainly going to be from the middle crowd, because especially with a lot of these big people, a lot of these followers will just do whatever they're told, and they say, okay, cool, I'll go follow this guy. And you're going to get that, your follow count is going to go up. It's going to go to me. But when you tweet something or you do something, there may be a little small increase in favorites or replies or whatever, or feedback, but it's not going to be substantial like that first group. And then there's a third group who are here for the giveaways. And I've done a giveaway before where it was a retweet follow thing to see how it went. It got retweeted 1,000 times in 20, and I said every time it got retweeted, I would do for every 200 retweets, I would do another avatar. And I had to stop it within 6 hours because it was already at 6. It ended up with like 4 avatars to draw or something like that. And then it just kept going. And it was for days and days. I think it got up to 1,400 or something like that.
Wow.
And so I got a lot of followers from that. Did I get a huge increase in sort of interacting, people interacting and feedback and all that? Not at all. Because those people are there for one purpose, and they might see your work and stuff like that, but that's not really what they're there for. They're not people who appreciate, not people who are fans. What you do, those people come naturally, and to force people into that, try and force them into that, first group, the second and third group, it's hard to do, and you're not usually going to have as much cut through as people that find you naturally.
Yep, I agree. You took the words right out of my mouth.
I'm not going to finish that sentence. That is a song.
What do you think, Evan?
No, I agree with Josh, because that it depends on what you're looking for. Like, you're not if you're gonna wind up with more actively involved followers or whatever it is, carries much more weight than you know, people who just came over to try to win something and then they're not gonna, you know, like, okay, that's done. They might get active again when you do another giveaway, but you know, other than that, it's just a statistic on the side of your browser, and it doesn't really equate to all that much. You know, it's so the active word of mouth stuff is definitely you know, that's more beneficial on just a lot of different levels. That's, you know, that's more what it is. But it's really the promotion thing. You know, it's if you're just starting out, I think it's a good thing to do just to get yourself on the radar. Again, if you're just like designing off in a silo, you know, it's unfortunately networking is a huge part of this industry anyways, so it is kind of a big part of it is who you know and you know, how you can get into where you want to go. So it's I guess it works that way in like most things in life. So promotion does help in that regard as getting that word of mouth started. Now, what you're doing in trade for promotion, I guess that's where the that's where it's got to be configured. But yeah.
Come to a close, though. Honestly, it's a good idea if you're just starting out, or you know, even if it makes sense, it is a very good idea.
So there's some people that'd be hard to say no to, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I mean, if you know, Zach Wilde came up to me, I'd say yes in a heartbeat. But,
I will paint your house.
Dude, yeah, it would spell foot massage too. I mean, shit, I'm right here.
YouTube. I think my perspective on it is with the promotion, that person is telling their followers that your work is good, right? Whereas a giveaway, you're giving something away, so the people are coming because they want the stuff, right? Whereas a promotion, they're coming because they've been influenced by someone that they already follow to look at your stuff, and that sort of clicks with their brain more that says, hey, he likes him, so maybe I should like him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's where promotion...
free. I'm telling you, any human being that hears the word free, they freak out. It's just they're there. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's free, they're there.
Yeah, so I think with giveaways, it's more instant gratification, whereas promotion, it's the long game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it's hard for me to sort of come down on it as well. I mean, on the channel I run an avatar giveaway, which actively I just keep it really, and you'd like and comment the video and, you know, and do all that stuff, and that, and I won't. I mean, I don't even try and hide it. That is purely for views and for promotion and to grow the channel. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you got to do that. And I mean, I don't try and hide that fact at all. You know, that's what I'm doing, and I actively do that every. I mean, the issue that comes down to now is getting the time to do that, because I was trying to do it every week, and now if it goes over 7 days, 8 days, 9 days, then my inbox is just like, wait. Well, yes, they have. What are you doing the giveaway? And like on Twitter, everything I put up, it's just like 5 replies. What? You're doing the avatar giveaway and stuff like that. And you're just like, oh man. So, and even to the point where now, if I put any other video up, people will just respond with their in-game name and what they want for the giveaway, like the giveaway details. So, I mean, yeah, I mean. I do run something like that, but an avatar is more banner design. You know, it's not a full website design. I can usually knock one out in an hour, an hour and a half. So
that's again goes back to valuing your time. I think that's the point that we all want to make, is that promotions and giveaways are good things to get your name out there, increase your following, and ultimately, hopefully, it will increase your business. But you also need to consider time versus payoff, right? So if you're going for followers or if you're going for money or income, you got to decide, where do I draw the line as far as what I'm willing to do in exchange for not getting cash.
Yeah, the dude's got like 50 subs or something like that. It's probably not the promotion you're really looking for. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I think so.
Yeah.
So guys, I think that's where we're gonna wrap it up tonight. A great show, and I appreciate Josh coming on for both the episodes this week. And again, Robert, fantastic having you on, and appreciate you sacrificing your sleep to.
That's what I'm gonna do after this.
Yeah, he's gonna pass out. We may need to hurry up the outro here before he passes out on us. But I appreciate you guys coming on, and again, everybody listening, be sure to check out the Ctrl+Z Twitter. It's at Ctrl+Z Show. We always want to hear from you guys about what you think about the show. Also, we're going to be incorporating your questions and put our weekly logos up for Ctrl+Z. We've started to kind of incorporate changing the logo with every episode, just to kind of give you guys something else. And if you guys have fan art or anything like that, be sure to submit it to us on that Twitter for sure, because we definitely want to get your guys' feedback on the show. Anything else to add, guys?
Love you, Nick.
I thought Evan was going to do it.
Just wait till next episode.
All the time. All right, guys. That's it for us.
Right.
We'll see you next week.
Later.
Peace.
All right.